This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Alright, so I can't count the number of times I've blown someone's mind by taking a picture of them, then unfolding the phone and showing them the shot on the main display. Every single time, the reactions are priceless. Hi everyone, Tal here. Straight up, put the Z Fold 4 up against any other phone out right now, and I don't think it's even a fair comparison. The versatility you get from this device just puts it in a league of its own. Not to mention, the wow factor for this thing is through the roof, but it's definitely not for everyone. So the Fold 4's claim to fame is that it's a smartphone that literally unfolds into a tablet. It's twice as thick and heavier than any other smartphone on the market, but that's the trade-off that you kind of expect going in. Be prepared though, because unless you have the pockets for it, you'll need to carry some sort of sling bag or purse to actually store it. When closed, you get a very typical smartphone experience. The cover display is slightly wider this year, and although it's helped with the typing experience, if you've got big hands, it'll probably still feel too cramped. It's definitely manageable though, especially if you get in the habit of using speech to text or even swipe typing. Personally, I found this to be an awesome one-handed phone thanks to its shape. It's much easier to grip than a regular phone, and my thumb sits naturally on the power button / fingerprint scanner, which I do like more than the under display stuff that Samsung uses on their other high-end phones. The volume buttons being placed just above also makes those easy to access to. Throw in Samsung's very good one-handed mode and you can totally one-hand your way through everything you need done while on the go. So of course, the payoff for carrying around something this thick is that you have access to this beautiful 7.6-inch display whenever, wherever. Samsung supposedly made the crease less noticeable this year, but the reality is, 4 years in, it's still there. You feel it every time you run your finger over it, and it still picks up a lot of light and reflections depending on your environment. The good news is that if you can tolerate those specific situations, the other 90% of the time when you're staring straight at the screen, it tends to disappear and not really be an issue. Of course, I'd rather it not be there, but seriously, it's not all that bad and hardly a deal breaker. Okay. Watching content is probably the first thing that most people will want to do with this main display, but I'd argue that it's not as glamorous as it seems. The crease is one thing, but not a lot of content is shot in this aspect ratio, so you end up with a lot of letterboxing. I find myself actually using flex mode to watch content way more often. The phone functions as its own little stand, and I like that you can adjust the angle to avoid any reflections or glaring light. Certain apps like YouTube are nicely optimized for flex mode too, allowing you to read through comments or browse suggested videos on the bottom while the top half plays the video. They also added the ability to enable a trackpad, so you've got mini laptop vibes going on. But truthfully, it's not very practical for like 95% of apps. The only time I found it somewhat helpful was when I was trying to quickly edit a spreadsheet while on the go. So Android doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to big screen app support. But with Android 12L, which the Fold 4 launches with, that's supposed to change. It's basically an update to make Android better on tablets and foldables. The majority of Google and Samsung apps already have decent tablet-like layouts, and you might have even missed some because they only show up once you rotate to landscape. YouTube Music and Gmail are a couple of examples. Even in its current state, the app situation isn't nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Once again, I guess it boils down to how tolerant you are for that type of thing. What I will say is that having a bigger screen, flat out, makes getting things done easier. Whether you're scheduling things on your calendar, navigating to your next meeting, or editing your next Instagram post, this main display just gives you more room to work with. Remember that subpar typing experience of the outer display? Well, it's a night and day difference once you do any sort of typing on the inner display. Throw any split layout keyboard on here, and the typing experience is one of my favorite things about this phone. The most notable change that Android 12L brings is the new taskbar, which builds on the already feature-packed multitasking of the Fold. You have access to all your apps right from the taskbar, and you can jump from one to another all without having to navigate home. You can also drag and drop apps to set up split screen multitasking, or for something a little more intuitive, swipe from the bottom or either side with 2 fingers. Maps with music or having two browser windows side by side are a couple of common pairs that I like to use. You also got the option to save app pairings straight to the home screen now too, which I really like. On paper, having identical battery specs as the Fold 3 might sound disappointing, but the battery life has been one of the notable upgrades of the Fold 4. I'm seeing anywhere from 1 to 2 hours of extra screen on time. The combination of a more efficient processor, screen, and the option to toggle on a light performance mode has been great for me. Battery life is going to vary so much depending on which screens you're using, but personally, I'm ending most days with between 20 to 40% battery left. One of the things I was excited for with the Fold 4's launch was this brand new Pen Kickstand Case that they introduced along with it. Turns out, it's not all that great. The kickstand collapses way too easily, and the phone doesn't sit flat even if you remove the attachments. Trying to write while the phone wobbles constantly is just not productive. On the bright side, the writing experience itself is very, very good. This would be perfect for jotting things down pretty much anywhere. As a note taker, even with the crease, I appreciate the larger writing surface, and Samsung Notes is one of my favorite note-taking apps, period. The Fold 4 has the same IPX8 water resistance rating, but still no improvements when it comes to dust, so you should probably be careful around sand and things like that. After a year, my Fold 3 is still in great shape, but I'm also the type of person to take pretty good care of my stuff. Still, for a device this expensive with so many moving parts, I think insurance or the extended warranty is a good idea. Okay, this is kind of minor, but one thing I was disappointed with this year is that they took away the pre-installed screen protector on the outer display. It just seems like such a petty thing to cut for a device this expensive, you know? Last year's Fold 3 just flat out didn't have a camera system that was worth the phone's sky-high price. With the Fold 4, while you still aren't getting Samsung's absolute best hardware, it's way more respectable now for a flagship phone. The triple cameras give you a lot of flexibility, and in good lighting, this can go head-to-head with any phone out there. The 3x optical zoom lens has taken some of my favorite pictures so far. A common complaint for Samsung phones is motion blur. You can tell they've improved the shutter lag a lot, but it's still not as responsive as Pixels or iPhones. I'm still seeing some motion blur and really soft photos of my baby, so I've had to retake photos on several occasions. From using the rear cameras for your selfies to propping it up to record yourself, the Fold's form factor makes it super versatile, especially for video. Here, while you take a look at some sample footage, let me talk to you about today's sponsor, Surfshark.
So Surfshark is a VPN that encrypts all your data before it goes over the internet. So people you don't want having access to your personal information won't have access to it, especially relevant on sketchy public Wi-Fi. My favorite feature is that you can use Surfshark to access content that might be blocked in your country. As a Canadian, I love that I can watch shows from the US, Japan, or just anywhere I want. And there's no limit to the number of devices you can connect at once either, so keep your whole family secure too. Click the link below and use my promo code TAO. You'll get 83% off and 3 months completely free.
At the end of the day, the Fold 4 makes compromises as both a phone and a tablet to offer you a two-in-one device that fits into your pocket. As a phone, the weight and thickness makes it slightly cumbersome to carry around, and I personally still prefer a dedicated tablet for consuming content or note-taking. After spending time with the Fold 3 and now the Fold 4, this honestly feels more like a phone that unfolds into a bigger phone rather than a tablet. Which is fine since it still offers a truly unique experience that's hard to give up once you get used to it. They've definitely made some quality of life improvements this year, but I don't think the upgrades to the Fold 4 are game-changing enough to sway those who were on the fence or convert those who were skeptical about the whole concept in general. I still think it's the coolest, most futuristic phone that you can buy right now. Using this, it makes me feel like I'm holding something from the future that's truly unique and exclusive. Samsung's clearly committed to foldables, but at $1,800, I don't think they can expect the Fold to gain popularity quite as fast as the much more reasonably priced Flip will. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out of here.